Greetings, fellow nerds and geeks. Why don't you pull yourself up a chair, grab yourself a beverage, and prepare to enjoy a geek-tastic conversation. Welcome to the Geek Easy.
Welcome back to the Geek Easy podcast. This is episode number 71 for September 18th, 2019. I am Pixel Dan Erdley, and I am joined by my good friends Mr. Jonathan Leonard.
Hey, Internet.
And Mr. Jaron McCaffrey.
Doesn't feel like 71. Doesn't feel like 71.
Oh, wait, we're doing that again? We're back to that?
Feels like 71 to me. Side note, that's how old my knees feel.
71? Yeah. Well, it's all that wrestling you do. And all those knee pads you don't wear.
I wear knee pads.
Oh, okay. Well.
Probably not good ones.
No, probably not good ones. I think I bought them at a store.
That's not a good
volleyball knee pads?
It's pretty.
Something like that.
Sporting goods store?
I really don't remember.
Probably not
my guess would probably be Walmart.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So, or maybe one of those online
They were probably,
stores?
10 years ago? I don't think the Walmart knee pads are
Spirit
built to last.
Halloween.
Yeah. Well,
did you buy them from Spirit
Halloween. Yeah.
Where you get your wrestling gear.
Yeah, I don't have a regular bump, let alone knee bump. So
oh, okay.
Pretty much fresh out of the package.
Fair call.
Okay.
Hey, if somebody can take me down, that's fine.
Oh, that's how it is. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Hey.
Shout out to my niece Amber Cornell because she just texted me and told me to do that. So.
Oh, great! So
we're doing that now.
We're doing shout outs now. Now you're just gonna start a trend. Now everybody's gonna ask for a shout out on here. So, way to go, John.
We're gonna have to make a shout out segment.
that would last one episode, and then we'd be like, we're done with the shout out segment.
Can we just roll everybody in the credits like they do on all those Kickstart things?
That's right. Yeah.
No, you gotta wait for Patreon.
We gotta wait till we start a Patreon for the podcast, and then all of our
then
patrons.
They can pay for shout outs.
Is that how it's? Are we doing that soon?
That's
is that a thing?
We should. Well, yeah, we can discuss that and discuss it with our viewers. Maybe.
Internet, tell us what you would pay us to do. Well,
hold on, John.
Tell us what. I don't know how the internet works.
Hold on,
done.
John.
The internet is not where you want to ask what somebody will pay for.
Yep. Don't ask that question.
Heard it as soon as I said it.
Yep.
So I'm going to be quiet for a while now.
All right. Hey, so what's going on, guys? We're going to have a pretty good show for you today, I think. It's starting off pretty well, but we got a couple fun topics to discuss today. We got some new information on some items hitting Disney Plus. That was pretty exciting, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. Jaron and Jonathan both saw It Chapter 2, so we're going to discuss that. But I think we're going to go ahead and kick things off today and we're a little bit behind in this, but we all just caught up on it. We're going to jump back and discuss Season 3 of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power on Netflix.
I mean, Seasons 2 and 3.
Well, 2 and 3. Yeah. I guess we never really discussed 2.
Which probably should just be Season 2.
Right. Yeah, it all feels like it just rolled together.
It was only, six episodes apiece?
Something like that. And it felt like the same season.
Right.
Because I watched them all just back to back and banged it all out basically in a day because they're like 20 minutes apiece.
Yeah. Yep.
So super easy to do it, and it felt like one story.
Right.
It's definitely not 2 seasons. But Netflix does that a lot with their animation. They split their seasons up into separate seasons so that they can release them, I think, more regularly rather than making you wait a year.
Which I'm fine with.
Which I'm also totally cool with. Yeah, it's the same way they handle Voltron.
I'd be totally fine if they wanted to release 1 week and, you know what I mean, have a weekly...
Like what Disney's going to do.
Right.
That's how they're going to handle their stuff. Yeah. That's going to be weird to
get
used to.
Are they doing everything that way or just...
Well, they're original shows, right?
Okay.
Isn't that how they...
Well, I know they announced that it was going to be that way, but Hulu does that for some shows, but not every show.
Well, Hulu does it for their original shows too, right?
Not all of them.
Oh, not all of them?
No.
Some of them they put up there right away?
Yeah.
Because I was watching... what was that one show I was watching on there? It was the...
I know which one you're talking about. I can't think of the name of it. Yeah, the one with the sick girl. Or
Yeah. What was it called? Like The Lie or the
something like that.
It was something like that. I can't remember, but that was that way. It was that way. It was like every week, so I actually had to wait every week for a new episode to come out.
I know they did Castle Rock that way, but like I don't think they did the new Veronica Mars that way, and I'm sure they. I can't. I mean, I didn't watch a ton of their stuff, but I know some they do, some they don't. So
cool. Well, She-Ra gets dropped about 6 or 7 episodes at a time every couple months, so that's pretty cool. So, where do you guys want to start on this? Do you just want to kind of talk about some of the fun things about it, things you liked, things you didn't like? We'll just kind of
I actually pretty well caught up as they were coming out, so like I've seen it all, and we'll remember it as soon as we start talking about it, but I don't remember where the cutoffs were as far as like what happened, like where 2 started and ended, and where 3 started and ended. Yeah. So I don't know a good starting point, basically.
Yeah. One of the things I had a real bad feeling at the end of their season 2, like the first 6 episodes. I did not enjoy those.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
In fact, I started watching season 2 and then stopped for a while because I watched 3 or 4 episodes and went, okay, I think that might be it for the She-Ra show for me, and I just kind of stopped. And not that it was bad, it was just, I don't know. I really I kind of talked about that when we reviewed season 1, how I felt like I could tell it was made for an audience that wasn't quite me.
Yeah.
I really felt that when I was watching the first few episodes of season 2 for some reason. I don't know. I was just kind of bored with it and didn't really, I wasn't getting into it, and I kind of just fell off and stopped. So
I felt like it fell real hard those first 6 episodes or so, just into real formulaic kids show, you know what I mean? Less that it wasn't for me, and more, I mean, it wasn't necessarily for me, but that wasn't what stood out for me as much as it was just this is now every other,
I got you.
Every other kid show coughed out to capitalize on a property.
I see exactly what you're saying.
The only thing that got me, it seemed to flatten out a bit, is all I would have said.
Yeah.
They were slower. There was none that I particularly disliked. I just wasn't. It didn't catch me as quick as season 1 had, but I thought that only lasted 3 or 4 episodes because they got to 1. I know it wasn't the last episode, maybe it was 5, but they did one where She-Ra got poisoned or whatever it was, and kind of went crazy.
Yeah.
And that episode overall was pretty wacky, but I really got into that one. I liked it quite a bit.
That was kind of neat, where they did the dark She-Ra thing.
Yeah.
It was she got possessed, the sword got possessed, so it made her kind of poisoned or something.
She went crazy, basically, and then they had to figure out what was going on there.
Yeah.
And I said I really enjoyed that one. And then I think that was close to the end of the season. But I mean, when you're only 6 episodes, halfway is close to the end of the season.
Yeah, and that's also what I was gonna say too, was the fact that it ended at 6 episodes. It just felt completely flat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if I would have been able to be it's fine. It's fine.
I think it ended with them heading to the Crimson Waste, right? Or they said that's where they needed to go. I think that's where it ended.
I thought that's where 3 started, but
is that where 3 started?
Maybe
they didn't mention that. Well, at all in season 2.
I think I remember it being kind of a cliffhanger. Mm-hmm. So I think
maybe they brought it up and 3 started with it.
Well, yeah, 3 started with it.
Yeah.
I feel like 2 ended. It's I saw 2. I watched the weekend it came out. I watched through all of 2. Which was another thing. I just put it on and watched it, and then in 3 hours it's done. And I was like, what?
Huh?
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
Yep.
Did anything happen?
Yeah. That was it.
Well, and I think that's the problem with the short releases that, is because I'm used to watching that for several days in a row, a couple episodes at a time.
Yep.
And exactly like you said, you got into that. It's we watched a couple, cool. Let's turn on the next. Oh, there's no more.
Right.
But, so I just really got back into this, into the groove, and now I got to stop again. And then I got to get back into the groove again when it starts back up.
Right.
And then be done immediately again. But 3, I think, started and stayed a little stronger.
I was going to say, once I really got into season 3, I was suddenly really into the story that was being told. It hooked me.
Yes.
Because they started doing some real fun things with that season. And I guess we should go ahead and stress now that we are going to go ahead and discuss some spoilers. Yep. So if you haven't watched it yet and you don't want to hear this is your cue to move ahead in the timeline.
Yeah, we'll have we'll have a time stamp you can go to and just click to the next topic.
Yep.
In the doobly-doo. Isn't that what they call it?
The doobly-doo. That's
the doobly-doo.
Yeah, that's it. John's super confused. That's a word Jaren just made up.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not. People use that.
Doobly-doo?
Yeah, look for links. Look for my stuff in the doobly-doo.
I like that.
Yeah.
Who's people?
YouTubers.
The YouTubers.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool.
All right. So season 3. So this is where we get the Crimson Waste stuff in the storyline. And one of the things that I just really like about this show, or at least specifically with season 3, is the character building that they're doing, specifically with Catra.
Yeah.
Catra is the standout character on this show, like, to me. No doubt about it. I love that character. And I like that even when they kind of show that she can care and feel, or starts getting a little like her and Scorpia kind of have a little thing going on, and like Scorpia wants to be super best buds or whatever with her, but there's always that that hatred of Adora always drives her to just go full bad guy. Yeah. And I think that's awesome. Like, I'm so happy to see that, and that she just keeps, like, she's to a point, like, I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but she literally got to the point where destroying the world was more important than letting She-Ra win at one point, and that was awesome.
And I always feel like the friendship starts to creep back in until they actually get face to face, and then all that betrayal comes rushing back in.
Yeah,
which is pretty well conveyed through a cartoon there. Like, it's impressive how much that shows through, I think.
Well, what about if we're talking about characters? Mm-hmm. What about what they're doing with Hordak?
Mm-hmm. This is some interesting stuff.
I love. First of all, I have loved the Hordak character since season 1. Like, the moment he wasn't cackling, doofus like he was in
the snort and everything.
Yep, yeah. I was all in. But then I loved, like, all through the first, not to go back too much, all through the first one, all through this one, he's like a good leader. Like, he's like when Catra's like, oh, we need to go do this because I want to hurt Adora. He's like, nah, that sounds stupid.
Yeah,
and counterproductive. How about you just go run this outpost that I told you? Know what I mean, or like whatever.
Like, he's got a plan, and he's trying to see that plan through.
Yes.
How excited were you guys when they brought up Horde Prime?
Man, I was getting pretty, like, they actually did a lot of stuff that was pretty neat. There's a lot of real good nerdy references in season 3 that I was marking out for. But with the Hordak stuff specifically, let's talk about the fact that, like, the big reveal with Hordak. He's a clone of Horde Prime.
Yep.
That's new. That's brand, as far as I know, that is brand new for the Hordak character. But it's interesting. It's an interesting way to portray him, and that he's like a flawed clone, which is why he was like exiled or whatever. Yeah. And now he just feels like, well, I'll show them. I'll conquer this planet and then let them come in, and I'll be the hero to the Horde. So I like that, because that feels like it does tie to the Hordak that we know, where he was always trying to appease Horde Prime. Always trying to appease Horde Prime. So we still have that aspect of the character there, but I like that they gave him like a real reason to be that way.
Yeah.
And I like that he's a flawed clone, but not like a bumbling...
right.
I mean, like, that would have been a real good excuse.
He's not like number 4
for multiplicity.
Like, that would have been a real good excuse to make him like the old Hordak, but they didn't do that. It's just that like, he's still a great leader and intelligent and all that stuff. It's just that his body keeps failing him.
Yeah,
and I really liked that we got to see.
The armor.
Oh my gosh, what's like the armor.
Entrapta,
like building him the robotic suit and everything, and like tying the tech in with Hordak, because that's another part of Hordak's character, is that he's always kind of been the techie guy, and he has the technology like built into him. Like, in the old cartoon, he would
turn into a rocket,
or like
gun arm,
turn into a gun arm and stuff. So I kind of feel like they're almost building to stuff like that, though. Maybe the gun arm specifically, because she keeps like building his armor with this technology to try to like whatever, like because he's
improve
like an
it and help him,
clone. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like we're working in the tech stuff, and so like they're doing a lot of neat things.
I like everything they did with those two.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, I like how he started really trusting and Trapped and everything, and then when he realized that,
and she was, because she's that she's the bad guy that's never really been a bad guy, exactly.
Yeah.
But they kind of built that up on her too, because she was even like, well, but he's my friend,
right?
Like she's not seeing it as it wasn't like the princesses are good and I'm one of them and the Hordak's evil but now I'm with them and I'm evil or any of that stuff. It was just like they were nice to me and they hung out and they let me be who I am and then I got trapped here and they kind of like left me here, but now I'm hanging out with this guy and he's cool with me and he lets me be who I am and he's got all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he lets me try things and he gets the science part and just kept just runs it down, and it's like that's like just a really cool dynamic.
Well, she's totally driven by like her passion, right?
Yeah.
Because she really just wants to play around with that first one's tech.
Yeah.
And Hordak's giving her the chance to do that, and she's not going to get to do that if she's hanging out with the princesses. And it's more important for her to study that stuff,
Yeah.
I even like that part too, where Adora was trying to reason with her and like tell her like, we didn't mean to leave you, we thought you were dead. And she was kind of like, oh, no, Catra's my friend, I think. At least the data says that she's my friend.
Yeah.
Like, she relies on her data for everything. I thought
She's
that was awesome.
She's got a spreadsheet for her
friends.
Yeah,
she had a spreadsheet for her friends. Yeah. I liked that. I thought that was cool. Huntara was introduced, which is a character from the original show.
Like, immediately, I was like, Gina Davis is in this.
Yeah.
Except that can't be right, but she sounds just like Gina Davis. Well, Gina Davis.
It's Gina Davis. Yeah.
Super excited.
So that was kind of neat. It was just neat seeing like one of those classic characters. She's one of those like kind of one-off characters that showed up in the original show, who was kind of the same thing, like kind of a villain, but more like a outsider kind of character. Right. She wasn't really aligned with anybody. Yeah, tweener character. Tongue Lasher showed up in this, which was kind of fun. I was like, hey, Tongue Lasher. Yeah. And I was kind of wondering, too, like, he was... well, first of all, he didn't use his tongue at all, so I was kind of bummed about that. But I do like how Catra stole the whip from him, and now she's got the whip. Yeah. That was neat. But he had that jacket he was wearing that had, like, a snake emblem on it, so I didn't know if that was supposed to be our little nod to, like, the Snake Men being a thing, or, like, the Snake Men clan being a thing. But that's the way I took it, and that's got, like, one of those fun little things that I was like, heck yeah, man, the Snake Men. That's great. That's good to know. They did a lot of things like that in this season, and I think we talked about this with season 1. I don't know how much they can actually like really get into the He-Man side of things, because I think there is a weird separation with the rights somewhere. But they've done a lot of stuff. Like they've mentioned Eternia before, but in this one they went all in on making sure we found out that Adora is not from this planet. She's from another planet. She was brought in through a portal. Hordak brought her in as a baby. Like, we got references to all that stuff, and that was real cool, because I was just like, I don't know, I just get more and more excited knowing that stuff's there. Even though we don't see it, it's there. We know it's there, and they're acknowledging that it's there. So I thought that was really cool stuff. The other thing that was really an out-of-nowhere reference that a lot of people may not get unless they really follow some of the other offshoots of He-Man. But we got to the part where there was the spaceship that she went into, and there was the recording of a former She-Ra named Mara. So Mara is a character from the New Adventures of He-Man, which was like that spin-off show from space. And the design of the character and everything in this
was with the same.
The ponytail with the little mace thing at the bottom of it, it's straight. That's her.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy, but they made her a She-Ra in this show. But she's Mara of Primus in New Adventures of He-Man. So I thought that was really
super cool.
Crazy that they brought a character from the New Adventures universe into this. But I don't know, like that's the nerdy stuff that I appreciate,
also
man.
Gets into the weird rights stuff, because that's a He-Man character.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Those rights should be with that, not with She-Ra's. I don't know, who knows?
Who knows, man? I don't understand how that works, but yeah, I get a real kick out of them doing stuff like that. So that's
for sure.
That's awesome. So I had a real fun time with season 3. I thought the build-up was great, the ending was great. That was the other thing I got real excited about, because Mara explained that her whole way to save the planet was that she sucked that whole planet of Etheria into the dimension of Despondos. Despondos is where Hordak was banished. Like, that's an old mythology thing, too.
Okay.
Because, like, in the original mythos, like, the sorceress of Grayskull banished Hordak and the Horde to Despondos.
Okay.
And when they got to Despondos, they found Etheria there, so they conquered Etheria. Huh. So that's like a thing. So like I thought it was really cool that they brought up Despondos and they gave a reason for Etheria being inside Despondos. It shouldn't actually be there. It's supposed to be outside. But now if they bring it outside, they're going to bring the whole Horde out with them. Right. You know, like that. That's a pretty neat explanation.
Yeah. That's cool.
And then, of course, we got the fun little thing at the very end where we got to see Horde Prime. And I was real happy with the way they introduced them. With the hands, doing the finger, like I was like, that's amazing, because that's all he was in the original show was the hand. Remember?
Remember?
Yeah,
do you remember? That's where I checked out on that show.
Oh yeah, that's right. Right. I thought that was real cool, though. I thought it was a neat reference that's how they introduced him in this show. But now we've seen the whole Horde Empire, and they know where Etheria is now,
right. And they're coming, right?
And they're coming,
yeah.
So, whoa, the stakes just jumped up huge. And I don't know, I kind of hope this opens the doors to see, like, some more familiar Horde members. And I just, like, it seems like this season really increased the stakes. And it seems like we're at this point now where we're going to keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome. So I'm pretty excited to see where we're going now.
Yep.
So yeah, season 3 really kind of turned it around for me. I was really into it there by the end.
I know you guys were both down on 2 when we first started watching it. And I didn't like fight for it by any means, but it kind of bummed me out because I was like, oh, I still like 2. But I'm really glad 3 turned it around.
Yeah, 3 definitely turned it around, and I think had they come out together, or had I waited at least, like had I seen them connected, like I wouldn't have notice, or I wouldn't have.
You wouldn't have had
I
time
wouldn't have been
down
as down on. I would have had a more favorable look at the whole.
Because the first few episodes would have been slow, but then overall it would have been awesome. Whereas in this case, the first few episodes were all of that season, and you didn't like them.
Yes, but also to end on a down note.
Okay, down note.
No Seahawk.
No Seahawk. Yeah, where was Seahawk, man?
No, not in the whole thing.
We really didn't see.
There wasn't a whole lot of the side characters.
We didn't see the princesses much at all. Yeah. Like this was a very heavy Shira, Glimmer, Bo, Catra, Scorpia, and that was pretty much it.
Scorpia for sure.
Yeah, they had a lot of Scorpia this time around. Man.
Yeah,
I'm pretty excited about where it's going. And
do we have any idea what like the release schedule and like?
I don't,
do
I know,
or how many or anything.
So, and I think they've already completed it. Like, I think the show's done as far as production goes. I don't know. They might be doing more. No, like I think everything's done. I think because I think they announced a while ago that they were like wrapping up season 6 or something like that as far as like their production part was going. They did because Netflix did the exact same thing with Voltron. Like it was done way before, and then they just banged it all out like that until it was done.
Like, is there a chance? Like, are they ever going to do more Voltron, or is it just
no? It's done. The story finished. Okay. It was, and I think it sounds like they're kind of doing the same thing with She-Ra. Like they're just telling a story,
and then when it's done, it's done. That Voltron.
I started now that it's really enjoyed it and just never finished it.
Well, I really enjoyed it, but I was getting super mad at the cliffhanger.
The release schedule?
Not the release schedule. I'm not good with cliffhangers.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I get really resentful of cliffhangers.
So, like, you just hate TV in general, or like?
No, I mean a lot of TV now does like where a season is encapsulated. Full story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's different than it used to be.
Yeah.
A lot of shows used to end on cliffhangers for the season.
Anything they thought was coming back.
Right.
Which made some of them real awkward if they didn't.
Remember
you, Alf.
I'm looking at
even though that eventually got finished.
My Name is Earl.
Oh yeah.
Well, back then I didn't have a choice.
Yeah, that's true.
Now and also now with like streaming, and when you give me like a bunch of something, like when you give me a whole. Like when you give me something to binge, and I binge it and it ends on a cliffhanger, I'm mad.
I can feel that.
Like that's I think that's the difference. Like when I'm used to like a cliffhanger every week, or like I watch 2 or 3 at a time, and there's a cliffhanger, and then almost like I'm used to it. Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ended on a cliffhanger this last season. I'm not mad at them. But yeah, okay. They also listen, and here's the thing. They also wrapped up a story, and then
open the new one.
Yeah, cliffhanged was like the intro into the next one.
Yeah,
not like we're building this story. Here's this big story. Here's see you in 6 months.
Yeah,
you know. First one I remember making me mad. Lakuta Saborg.
Oh,
so
man.
mad. That started my
Really?
my cliffhanger hatred. I mean, it's fine. Looking back, it was a cool story. It's grown into lots of other stuff.
Such a great story.
When that happened, and Picard was a Borg, and the show went off, and I looked at my mom, and I was like, "Man, I can't wait till next week." And she was like, "Yeah, I think the show's off."
You mean 3 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mad. Changed my whole life right there. It's like, what?
Ooh.
Picard was a Borg?
That changed his whole life forever. It's affecting him in the new series coming out. I can't wait to see what they do with that. I'm so excited for the Picard show.
Not giving him
Not
not gonna do it.
Can Disney Plus just buy CBS, or so that we can just go?
What if we
Disney go buy CBS so we can just get everything?
We should just watch it together. We'll all kick in we'll wait till it's all out, and then we'll all kick in like $3 for 1 month.
And then just get together and watch them all.
Tell you what, you guys kick in the
You bring the
$3
food then,
piece and I'll bring food.
That's fair.
Yeah,
We'll buy the service. You bring the food.
I will bring $80 worth of food before I give CBS $60.
All right, so me and Jaron are gonna buy this. John's gonna bring $80 of food. This sounds like a good day to me.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
deal.
All right, so while we're talking about animation and streaming services, let's talk about the news that was released this week for Disney Plus. And we've talked a little bit about Disney Plus already, some of the shows that they've officially announced, and some of the things that we were hoping that we would see. And one of the things that I remember specifically saying is that I really hope we get some of those early Marvel animated shows on Disney Plus. And it looks like that is going to be a reality. This was broken by the Disney Plus Updates Twitter account this week, which is not the official Disney Plus Twitter account, but they're basing the information off of multiple users who currently have access to Disney Plus in the Netherlands, because as I understand it, that's a testing region right now for it. Mm-hmm. So like the Netherlands has Disney Plus for free right now all the way up until it launches. So as soon as they got it, they started just taking screenshots of everything that's on there and plastering it all over the internet.
And it's all I don't think they have any of like the originals that have been released or anything. They've just got access to some of the library stuff.
Right.
And they've got the interface and the search capabilities.
Yeah.
And they can watch some of the old stuff and see how it works. And
so you can see like screenshots and everything online right now if you Google it. Like I was looking at one, somebody had posted a video where they just were able to show every animated series in a list on Disney Plus, and they just scrolled down and showed you everything that was on there, and it's crazy. They're launching with so much stuff. So obviously there's the disclaimer that there's a possibility that maybe this isn't all going to be available right up front when it launches in the US, or I don't know if there's a territory thing, because that happens sometimes. But as it is right now, it looks like Disney Plus is going to launch with basically all of the Marvel animated series that were the old Fox ones and everything.
And the old ones, right?
Yes. So like specifically some of the highlights here is it's going to have the 92 X-Men series, the 94 Spider-Man series, the 79 Spider-Woman series, the 81 Spider-Man series, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, the 94 Iron Man series, the 94 Fantastic Four, the 94 Incredible Hulk, Silver Surfer, Spider-Man Unlimited. Those were all listed on there, as well as some of the more modern stuff like Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, which is a really good show. And that's the one, that was a really good show, and then it got canceled when the Disney buyout happened, which was a bummer. Yeah. And then, because they went 2 seasons and it was a super good show, and then the Disney buyout happened, so they canceled like everything that was in production and started brand new stuff after that. So that was like one of those, like it was cool we got all the stuff after that, obviously, but that was like a victim of the Disney buyout. But hey, at least those 2 seasons will be on Disney Plus, so you can go back and watch them if you never got a chance to see them, because it's a good show.
I'm terrified of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. that was like my show. I love that show. Buddy, has going back to check out things I loved as a kid not
She-Ra
worked out for me. Yeah. Right. So like I'm scared because that's gonna be one of the first ones I click on. I'm like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
And I hope I make I hope it's good. You hope it's
at least a little bit good. Just a little bit at least.
She-Ra and He-Man. Just like
they got you scared now to go back and revisit anything from your childhood.
Yes. I really feel like if somebody out there likes them, they have enough nostalgia to plow through those things, fine, whatever. Man, those shows are unwatchable.
Oh man.
I've gone back and watched Ninja Turtles. If it's Ninja Turtles is bad, but it has enough nostalgia for me because I watched a lot of He-Man and She-Ra. I remember loving it as a kid, but like Ninja Turtles, I was every day on it. Like it replaced
Ninja Turtles is better in the earlier seasons too. As that show went on, it got real
worse.
bad. Yeah, and like the animation even gets worse as they go because I think they changed like studios and then a lot of the voices changed. That show went forever.
Yeah,
it just kept going.
Yep.
Because we got to that point where like Shredder wasn't even the villain anymore. It was Lord Dreg. Lord Dreg was the main villain.
I remember
the intro to the show like was intercut with clips from the live action movies. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, and those are bad episodes.
Doesn't sound like it's starting well.
Oh man, yeah.
I haven't done it with a lot of old cartoons. I do like watching stuff I really liked as a kid with modern kids. Because it's one spectrum or the other. You're either watching it and you're looking over and you're like, total validation. This is great. I was good to like this. Or you're sitting there going, I'm embarrassed for an entire generation of people that came before you. I can't do this anymore.
I'm excited to go back and watch Spider-Man and X-Men just because I want to revisit those. And
I'm sure those are good.
I want to watch them with Spencer, especially Spider-Man. I think he'll really like. He's pretty excited that there's going to be a Hulk cartoon on there. I don't think I ever watched that. I have no idea what to expect from that.
I watched some of those, and I mean, they were fine. They weren't enough to really get me into them, but that was also at that phase where I was sort of like running out of time for comic books and TV for a while, so I don't necessarily blame the show. They were just a few years later than they would have been, but I never had a problem with what I watched on any of those.
Because that one came out in 96, so we were all in
high school. I know that the 90s X-Men and Spider-Mans were... I don't want to make any false, crazy acclamations like they were as good as the 90s Batman by any means, but they were of the same level of like they were still comic book shows, but they were also serious enough to where they weren't like you're not gonna go back and like find out how kiddie they were. Maybe more so than that Batman show, but definitely less so than like old She-Ra or old Turtles or anything.
I only vaguely remember. I was just never a Spider-Man guy, so I didn't watch the Spider-Man that much. I remember loving the X-Men and then wanting to watch the Fantastic Four. And just being like, ooh, all right. So it's not all of them. It's not all of them.
What?
There was an Iron Man show around that time.
Didn't you read that on the list?
Was it on the list?
I think it's on the list.
Yeah, it's probably on there.
That's another one. I did the same thing.
That'd be weird if that one just wasn't on the list.
Never really. This is bad. It would not be weird. I'm not sure Fantastic Four should be on the list. Now, I might give it another try, benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean? I'm sure I'll watch at least one episode of everything on that list just to, give it a shot.
Yeah.
But we should do that as a Geek Easy.
Oh.
When it comes out. One episode of all the first episode of all the Marvel.
That's a good idea.
All the Marvel animation.
And then all the other episodes?
We can watch all the other episodes, but like as an
episode
topic.
That would make a good discussion for a podcast.
Watching
one episode of each of those shows.
You're not debuting a new spinoff right now.
No.
Okay.
No.
That would take forever. This episode's about the entire 8-season run of X-Men.
I don't actually know it would take much longer than the Marvel Goodyear did.
Well, I know, but like... Would every episode be about one episode of the show, or would every episode be an entire series?
Or something,
a season.
Or a series or whatever.
That would be a lot of cartoon watching.
I'm
not going to be watching a lot of cartoons.
I'm not going to do anything like that until you guys catch up and we can do the Netflix shows. Okay. All right, I'm throwing that gauntlet down right now.
Netflix shows for Marvel Good Yay?
Yeah.
Okay. Good call.
Well, all you had to do is ask.
I've asked repeatedly, John. I think
he just threw the Infinity Gauntlet down.
Prove it.
Yes, I did. I can't prove it because
there has to be an Infinity Gauntlet in here somewhere you can just actually throw down.
I think I got a Thanos up here somewhere. There's like a Lego Thanos over there.
Just throw
him.
Throw Turbo Man down.
Throw Turbo Man down.
Oh yeah, there's a Thanos right there. Just off camera.
Oh, there he is. Yep.
I'm not going to throw.
Makes it sound fake.
I'm not going to throw
really
any of Danny's toys.
Please don't throw my toys.
It's just for effect. You don't have to.
I don't want to make Danny cry on the podcast, man. Come on.
Not while everybody's watching, man.
Is there more on the Disney Plus news?
So the only other thing it really mentions here is that in addition to all the Marvel stuff, which was kind of the big thing that everybody was kind of holding out to see if it would be on there, I think we already had confirmation that we'd be getting Disney afternoon shows on there too. So it says on here that they're expected to be officially announced soon, including DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, and Gargoyles. Yeah. And Gargoyles was one that a lot of people were really hoping was going to be on there.
Yeah. So I know I've already seen DuckTales on official lists.
Okay.
Because I was excited about it.
So it looks like Gargoyles is there. I guess people, they've probably found it.
I got super into Gargoyles late in that show. I couldn't tell you when because I didn't pay attention to like seasons and stuff back then. But I remember watching that show early and being like, "This is dumb. It's not the Ninja Turtles. You really want it to be the Ninja Turtles, but it's not." You know,
I mean, everything did in that area.
Oh, for sure,
everything did
for sure.
Yeah.
But then I happened on it a little later, and it was like it hooked me in because like the first episodes I saw, they were like. Some of them got separated and they got transported back in time and were like at King Arthur's castle for a little while and
I totally remember
the knights.
That.
But then the guy that Riker played, Jonathan Frakes plays like the antagonist, but then like later he became not the antagonist, but like he was a member of the Illuminati, and and like the show had an ongoing, all this stuff happening kind of in an ongoing story, and like I was super hooked in for a little while, so I'm jazzed for that. And Darkwing Duck
is so
all
good.
in. I don't care how bad that show turns out to be compared to what I remember.
Dangerous.
I'll watch the whole thing.
Nice. I like that. I like Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers.
I love Chip 'n Dale.
Of course, I like DuckTales, but I mean, they're all so good.
Well, DuckTales is like saying you like DuckTales is like saying you like Cheers. Like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, we know.
You know, like,
the new DuckTales is going to be on there too, which I've not seen.
Yeah, I think
yet.
like just
so I was happy to
one
see
or two seasons. I don't even know how many they've done
because I've heard great things about that too.
Yeah.
The new.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And they're because with the new DuckTales, they've started introducing a bigger Disney Afternoons universe. Darkwing Duck is showing up in the new. In the new DuckTales?
That's awesome.
He either already has or he's about to.
That's awesome.
And I think they're spinning it off into a new Darkwing Duck.
And
so it's amazing.
I'll watch all that stuff when I can binge it on Disney Plus.
Disney's just like, let's do it.
Not before though.
Connected universes on everything. The Disney Afternoons.
Well, apparently they're the only ones that know how to do it.
No
that's true. That's true.
I have no idea if it's still on or what, but I know they did like a follow-up series to Tangled. One of those Disney channels did too, and it actually had like the actual like voices and everything back, and I was really interested in seeing how that was. So I haven't seen that on the list yet, but I'm hoping that shows up sooner than later.
I kind of hope that we see some old school Disney Channel stuff on there too. I don't know if they're going to do that, but like some of the old programming that was on there when we were kids, I would just for nostalgia's sake, it'd be neat to see some of that stuff pop up. That's like totally lost to history at this point. Yeah, but I have no idea if they're going to do anything.
I did.
I never had the Disney Channel.
The Disney Channel was one of those things.
I never had it either.
My grandma had it, there, so like I have fond memories of like anytime I visited my grandma, I got to watch the Disney Channel because she had it because that was a pay channel back then.
That's how I watched any Darkwing Duck. That's why I'm so juiced because I love Darkwing Duck so much. Every 4 or 5 months when I happen to be at my grandma's to catch a couple episodes, you know. It's like an unfinished. Now I've seen all of DuckTales, but that one is like an unfinished in my soul. Like if I'm laying on my deathbed and I haven't seen all of Darkwing Duck, I don't know what that'll come up. That'll come up.
The list I saw, I mean, didn't have a lot of this stuff on there, so apparently it was clearly nowhere near complete if all of this stuff ends up being available at launch in the States also. But there was a surprising lack of, like, Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
And that type of thing when I saw
it.
That's weird. I'm hoping there's more of that when it comes around, too.
Me too. Like the classic
there was
cartoons,
like
a
awesome season of like some Mickey Mouse, and I don't even know if it was a modern one or an older one.
Was it Mickey Mouse Clubhouse? Because that's like the modern.
I think so,
like,
but maybe it was. But there was, like I said, because I didn't see any like Mickey Mouse movies or anything like that, and I saw one show that was like clearly Mickey Mouse, but that was it. I was like, I would think there would be 10 options for that just because of the flagship nature.
Some of the classic shorts would be awesome. To see if they had like a collection of those on there. Because it's hard to watch those, too, now. Like, unless you've bought any of the DVD collections that have come out that have that stuff on there, it's like you can't really find those classic Disney cartoons. It's weird.
I do wonder what this is going to do to the vault.
They're probably not the way Disney wants Mickey to be viewed now, right?
I mean,
you know what I mean? Like
some of it definitely.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I don't ever remember hearing, like the Merry Melodies or
Silly Symphonies.
Mm-hmm. The ones that have like a lot of racist stuff in them that they won't show anymore.
Yeah.
I've never heard anything.
Stuff.
Yeah, Looney Tunes.
Yeah,
that's what I was trying. Looney Tunes.
Yeah. They do that.
Yeah. So I don't know about Disney, but I mean even just like that stuff just wasn't the same like it is for kids now, and not like they want Disney to be or Disney and Mickey to be perceived. So I assume we won't see much of that stuff. Now maybe they just won't care and be like, whatever, put everything on the vault. But that doesn't sound like Disney.
You're totally right. Right. They're pretty strict about maintaining their image, especially with Mickey.
Right.
Especially with Mickey. So.
But there's also a ton of Mickey stuff through the ages that is fine.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
It's not on there either.
Well, we'll see.
On the list that I saw.
Not on the list you saw.
See, I've always kind of felt like there's not. It's always seemed weird to me that there's not much Mickey stuff. And, now I get it because he is so protected, but I always feel like he always ends up being a host or, he's just not,
right.
I've never felt like, oh, Mickey Mouse, I feel like he's just something that's a little more like, well, there's Mickey and then there's all the stuff that they make,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. My perception. What do I know? Never been a Disney guy anyway.
Is there much Muppet stuff on there?
So they did just announce that they canceled one of their Muppet shows that they were going to be producing for it, which is a bummer. But I think there's another one that they're still doing because I think there were going to be 2 Muppet things.
Which one they canceled and why?
Let me see. Because Muppet series scrapped at Disney Plus. This just announced this week. It was a Muppet series from Josh Gad, scrapped at Disney Plus. Disney Plus has abandoned plans for a scripted Muppet series that was being worked on. The news comes less than 3 weeks after Disney announced it at D23. I mean, that's basically all the news we've got on it. But I think, because this was going to be a scripted Muppet show, and I think they're also doing kind of like a sketch show very similar to the old Muppet Show, and I think that one is still happening.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, though. But that's because I remember reading that there were like 2 Muppet shows that they were producing for Disney Plus, but this one, for whatever reason, got scrapped already. So I don't know if there's going to be any older stuff on there. I hope so, or hope eventually, because they own that library too.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'd be awesome to see them release some of those older Muppet movies and everything.
I'd like to see the old show on there.
I wish they could release Muppet Babies, the cartoon, but there's a lot of rights tie up with that show.
Really?
That show used a whole bunch of movie footage and stuff from various studios, and because of that show has never been able to be released on DVD.
That explains it.
So I don't know if that show is ever going to see the light of day again, which is real sad.
Well, everybody said the same thing about Saturday Night Live, and they started churning those seasons out eventually.
Yeah.
Because of all the music rights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how they got around it exactly.
They cut all that stuff out.
All out.
Yeah, they even cut it out like the new episodes when they show up on Hulu. Sketches and acts are cut a lot of times.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yep.
Woof.
Yep.
Yeah, rights and licensing is so weird. So weird. All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and move on now to the movies. And this is mostly going to be a John and Jaron segment because I have still not seen even It Chapter 1, so I am totally like...
You haven't seen It Chapter 1? You haven't seen the old It?
I know, man. I am real bad with the horror movie stuff.
Did you ever read it?
That's why we're doing the Freak Easy, because we're trying to catch me up.
We're trying to
get
catch
me
you
a little
up.
more. We're trying to get me a little more cultured as far as the horror movie stuff goes.
See, the old one's Tim Curry as an evil clown.
I want to watch it. It's on my list of things to watch. I'm going to get to it. But it's totally cool. You guys spoil it away. Yeah. It'll be fine.
Real quick on not it subjects. I've been since we're talking about movies, I've been catching all of the trailer, the previews, the TV trailers and stuff for Joker that is going on and on about film of the year and all these accolades it's getting, and I have no idea how accurate it is. I don't know if that movie's going to be any good. I don't know if I'm going to care for it myself, even if it is pretty good, but I hope it wins every Oscar because I want to see what Hollywood does to duplicate it afterwards.
Oh, no.
Sounds like mayhem.
That sounds like mayhem.
Yeah.
No, they're going to wreck superhero movies, John. Don't.
I mean, it's not like Marvel's going to stop churning out what they're doing.
That's true.
So I just want to see the rabbit hole DC chases itself down.
You started at a place where I was gonna not punch you. And you ended at a place where I'm totally on board.
That's great.
I don't want to see that movie. I think that Joker movie looks dumb. I'm going to see it, but I'm planning for it to be dumb. I'm not going in unbiased. I'm going in expecting this movie to be terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, but I want to see that now. I want to see them try to replicate it.
Yeah.
So I'm in. I'm all in.
Don't even care about the movie. I just want to see the aftermath.
Yep.
Did you guys see, speaking of DC stuff, did you see James Gunn release the cast list for Suicide Squad 2 this week? John Cena's in the movie.
Oh, man.
So it doesn't say who everybody is. It just he just put out this picture on Twitter. That's everybody's names.
Oh, nice.
For Suicide Squad 2. So, like... John Cena is.
I'm fine with John Cena being in that movie, but that's not the thing that makes me go, "Oh, maybe it will be good."
Michael Rooker and Sean Gunn are both in it.
Nice.
So it's got some.
Honestly, like I can picture that movie being.
Taika Waititi's in it too.
Well, I think I had heard that. Cause that's really weird. And again, like the thing that excites me about that movie is James Gunn. I don't care who else he puts in it. You know, like I hope he can do something with it. And I have no reason to assume he's just going to make a terrible movie all of a sudden, even though I had no reason to assume Zack Snyder would just start making terrible movies. And
surprise!
Yeah. Like David Ayers made some pretty good movies, and then he made Suicide Squad.
You know,
it happens.
We'll have to have that discussion one day because I'm not. I feel like it was inevitable. Like if you look at Zack Snyder's movies, like you had to be like it's inevitable that he's going to start making stuff that's terrible. But
I'm sure you're right.
But today is not.
But I didn't see that coming beforehand.
Yeah,
you know?
well, yeah.
Like the day they made the announcements, I didn't go, "Oh no!"
Right.
I waited till the footage started coming out.
Right.
So
all right. So it. Where do we want to start with it? What do you think, John?
Because we never really reviewed Chapter 1 at all.
We didn't review Chapter 1.
It was before you were around. I was the only one who had seen it.
Chapter 1 is the best Stephen King movie adaptation ever.
Wow. Yeah.
Sweeping declaration.
Yeah.
Sweeping declaration.
I wouldn't be on board with you, but I loved it.
I would not fist fight somebody who wanted to make the argument of Kubrick's The Shining. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it succeeded on a much larger scale and a much stronger basis. It Chapter 1.
Are you only counting the pure horror, or are we counting like Shawshank?
Ooh, I guess the pure horror because I didn't really think of Shawshank.
Okay, I'm closer to being with you then. There's a good chance I am with you at this point.
Yeah,
then. I would just have to.
I didn't think about like Shawshank.
Yeah, or The Running Man.
Tried to keep a straight face. You tried. Yeah, you tried.
Almost got there.
Yeah, on pure horror, we'll go with pure horror.
Okay.
I think it's better. I think
it's so good.
Yeah, it's so good. It's perfect. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to spoil it. Just go see it. If you haven't seen It Chapter 1. Now, let's spoil it because everybody's seen it. If you haven't seen it, whatever.
I haven't seen it. Should I stay here?
Look down at the doobity goobity, and that's when
the doobity goobity.
The timestamp will be for when the spoilers start.
The doobity goobity. That's close enough. It doesn't matter. All right, so It Chapter 1. I loved It Chapter 1. I would say, too, that I had low expectations for It Chapter 1. Not because it looked bad or anything. Just
it's a hard movie.
It's a hard movie,
story to adapt regardless.
Right,
yeah.
You know. And I didn't know how they were going to make it like the old one, the old TV version. I only remember the. Okay, let's talk about the old TV version. We'll talk about it. Okay, we're just talking about it because I remember the old TV version as like, kind of a Goonies. Like because it's got the kids and it's got they kind of go on a trip and that's all I remember. It was in the same category for me as like Goonies, Monster Squad, and Stand By Me.
All I can remember vividly from the old one are random Tim Curry scenes.
Yeah, Well, then when I got older. And I was like, I'm going to go rent It. And then there turned out to be a whole second half of the movie where they were all grown up and adults. I don't have that memory from when I was like young watching the movie. So like watching that, and then that's where it really gets bad. You still go back and watch the first half of It, the old one with Tim Curry. The first half is watchable. The second half, once they're all grown up, Tim Curry is great, but it's bad. It's really bad.
Is there in the book, which it's been 20 years?
Yes.
25 years since I've read that, something along those lines. In the book, it's not as split up as
it's integrated all the way through.
That's what I thought. And I remembered the miniseries being more like that. I knew there was kind of a separation, but I didn't remember it being as complete as It Chapter 1 was.
Right.
But It Chapter 1, I mean, they hadn't even cast the adults.
Yes.
It was all kids all the way through.
Yep.
And that was what made me nervous about Chapter 1, was that officially they hadn't even greenlit the second part. They were just doing, like, the kids' side of it.
Yeah.
And if it goes well, then obviously they're going to make the second one. And I never had any doubts that they were going to do the second one. I just had no idea how it was going to work as basically... cracked out Goonies.
Right. Yeah.
For
sure.
And then it did.
Yeah. It totally did. And I think it worked so well because they just kind of leaned into that.
Yep.
And they didn't try to plan it together, make it too, they didn't make it too, they weren't anticipating the next one as much. It didn't come off that way. They just made a really solid movie, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
So then we have It Chapter 2. And I felt really weird walking out of It Chapter 2. And I've given it some thought since then. Because, one thing, I love It Chapter 1 so much. I really wanted to love It Chapter 2. I went in with real high expectations. Then it had a great cast. It had Bill Hader. It had... James McAvoy. It had Jessica Chastain.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who played Pennywise.
Oh, the Skarsgård.
Yeah, the Skarsgård. Well, the Skarsgård who played Pennywise did a great Pennywise.
Yeah.
So like I was looking for that.
I was getting my Skarsgårds mixed up.
Yeah. So like I went in with really high expectations, and when I came out, I did not feel like those expectations had been met.
Yeah.
And I was really trying. We discussed it. I was really trying to figure it out. And then that night, like I ended up settling on like I was more disappointed that I didn't love it than I was actually like disappointed in the movie.
Yeah.
As I've mulled it over, I think I'm disappointed in the movie, and I think that the easiest way to describe it is it's a sequel. It has sequelitis.
Yeah. I'm a lot higher on it than you are.
Yeah.
On Chapter 2, but I mean, it's also no Chapter 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm totally with you on that part. It just didn't drag me down. I thought, man, it's so long.
It is really long.
It didn't feel as long as I knew it was while I was watching it, but I have a fear of going into it a second time because I fear the second time will drag a lot more.
Yep.
For reviewing purposes, but they integrated a lot of the kids into that, so it kind of gave me that. Some of the stuff that I loved in Chapter 1 was those kids and their relationship and how that works. So I got some of that stuff. I thought all the adults did a great job. It was a great cast. I didn't have problems with any of those. Any of the stuff they did. I was always nervous about the ending because the ending of the book was real weird, and the ending of the 80s miniseries was never going to touch that. And in lieu of doing the real weird stuff that they couldn't afford to do, they just made it bad.
Right.
And I wasn't sure how they were even going to approach this one, and I'm not terribly thrilled with what they did with it. How it came off. It just seemed. It just sort of happened, they build it and they build it, and obviously we're in spoiler territory, so it doesn't matter. But basically, they just stand up to the clown like he's a bully, but the way it plays off on screen is exactly the way I just said it. That's it. The murderous clown is a giant spider and bigger than he's ever been and going crazy on everything, and then all of a sudden they're like, we think your nose sucks and we don't like you, and he's like, "Roar," and he just melts and is gone.
Well, the other problem with that too, yeah. Well, and so here's my problem with that and why the ending was bad for this one. Because for one, that let's just stand up to him was preceded by 15 to 20 minutes of a giant monster crab clown smashing around, you know what I mean? Like smashing around and they're all running and oh my God, and trying to hide, and then he finds them and then he climbs down there. They're like, run down here, you can't fit down there, but then he's Pennywise so he can fit down there.
Yep.
And then they're just like, you know what? If we just tell him he's dumb, he'll believe us and melt.
Yep.
And then it just happens and he just does.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's it. Yeah. It's almost like, there should be a point, because they went down there with this big master plan with this ceremony and all sorts of stuff, and that blew up in their faces right away. But then it's like they just had their last ditch effort of an idea, and they all went from being terrified to immediately they were just like, well, I guess we'll just do this, and then again, it's like there's that 15 minutes of buildup of all this going on, and then the actual conclusion to it is this half-brained idea that doesn't. It seemed out of character for all of them to just dive into it right away. After everything they had been through leading up to that point, they all just decided, they were like, well, I guess let's just not be scared then.
Well, here's the other...
You guys could have saved yourself a lot of trouble and a lot of lies if you'd have just done this 27 years ago.
Well, hold on.
And also they did.
Hold on. That's what I'm trying to get to. Because that's how the first one is. That's what they did in the first one. And one... that should have just been their go-to. Like, hey guys, remember we can't be scared of him when we get down there.
Yeah,
I don't care what he turns into. Like the Seven talk, right?
Yep.
John Doe's head splits and a astronaut flies out of it. I expect you to have expected it. That's what we do, right? That's how we beat Pennywise.
Except this might have actually happened in this movie.
Yeah. Well, but that's yes. But that's the other thing is we know that doesn't work. Right? Yeah. They were not scared of him before, and he melted and fell down a pit, and then came right back on schedule like he was supposed to.
Yep.
So, I don't know. You guys tell me. Yep. Disappointing.
So, that's why I was saying walking out, though.
Yep.
I really want to... this is the age where they just make extra parts of things that... when they're making a new After Watchmen and all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I really just want to see It Chapter 3, but with Clint Eastwood and Richard Dreyfuss and all of them.
They're really old now?
Yeah. They skip a generation, so they come back 54 years later, and they're just,
Oh, jeez.
I'm in.
So... but the ride getting to the end, I really enjoyed. I thought that the adult actors carried through a lot of that dynamic from the kids.
Yeah.
I liked the way they kind of played the town having that control factor set over it, which you were talking about when we were walking out of the movie. How that's such a big part of the story of the book and everything. Is it's not even so much that there's just an evil clown. It's that he's got this stranglehold on this town, even when he's not around, where the town is just rotten.
Right.
You know, and I got that feeling through some of it. I really enjoyed that. It's just when it got to the end, I was kind of bummed out by the end. But I was fully expecting, no matter what, to be bummed out by the end of this movie because I couldn't imagine a satisfying way for them to do it. Yeah. And so when I got there and I wasn't satisfied, it was like, well, saw that coming. Yeah. But I liked the rest.
Yeah. Sort of like it's a really hard, really weird movie to end. Yeah. I would say that horror movies in general are tough to end because, you know, you have to build this unstoppable force and then stop it, or don't. Yep. You know, and this is one that gets, you know, when you don't, like, it almost fits better in horror movies because that you're there for the horror and no, we can't win. This is good. Is a fine horror. Yeah. But you know, you also kind of want the catharsis of stopping it. This is one that you stop, you know, so it's tough to stop. Yeah. I was going to make another point. I thought that they started strong with the, like you talked about the dynamics. Like I thought they started strong, and then there's a long stretch in the middle where they are kind of doing some like revisiting the first movie type stuff. And
they do the Avengers Endgame.
They do the Avengers Endgame
of the universe. Yes.
And all that stuff like reminded me what a better movie the first one was, and then like. So it started this like downward trajectory where I'm watching, you know, Bill Hader shows up and he's being funny and James McAvoy is there being James McAvoy and like, you know, like, hey, this is cool. And then they start going back. I'm like, man, the first one was so much better than this. And it just puts the whole movie on this downward trajectory. And then you get to the ending where like short of a portal opening and Captain America coming out to fight Pennywise, there's just no satisfying way to end that movie. You know what I mean? Amazing. So it was just that,
and I think that's the part where you and I separated because we took that totally different. Because you took it as a reminder of better things, and I took it as integrating better things into this. But like I was like I guess you were too. But I was liking what they were doing with the adult cast, and when they started intermixing like the scenes from the younger days in. And getting the younger cast involved with it too, and then bringing it back to the older time. To me, that felt like supporting material. Like I think they're doing a pretty good job here. Oh, and they're showing me the old ones, and I agree that like I feel that it is a good version of the adult version of it's a good telling of the adult version of that.
So I agree with. I feel both.
Yeah.
Because like having those scenes in the middle of the movie kept the middle of the movie from dragging. It kept me from falling asleep through the middle of the movie for sure. But it also, I really liked the first one. I don't know, you know, if I really, really liked the first one. So like when they were just reminding me of that, I was like, man, I could be watching the first one and be done in an hour earlier. Like,
you know, the first one's really long too.
It's really long. Yeah. It's not that long.
It was only like a half an hour shorter.
Only?
Yeah.
Man.
It's still like 2:15, 2:20, somewhere like that.
It's a much better 2:15.
Yeah.
I was going to say, sometimes when a movie's like super good, you don't even notice.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and that's the thing I think what happened, because I rented the first one the night before we went and saw the second one. I pulled it out to pop it in. I was like, hey, here we go for another. Oh, God, why? Why is it so long? Everything's so long.
Everything is so long. That's just the thing these days with movies, though.
Yep.
They're always that long.
No joke there. That's why I love Ready or Not so much. A solid 90 minutes of surefire fun, and then you get to go home.
Yes. Yeah, if you're gonna see it Chapter 2, it's a fine movie, but if you're gonna see one horror movie, see Ready or Not.
I'm not gonna argue with that at all. I loved Ready or Not.
That's my final thesis.
Yep. But if you've seen it Chapter 1, then see 2 horror movies.
I already shut the book.
Yeah.
You shut your book.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So my book's still being written.
The segment's been closed, John.
I just get overruled like that? Really? On my own show?
On your own show. Awesome. All right. We're good on it? Good on it?
I already shut the segment, Dan.
Shut the segment down.
Q&A.
I give it 4 out of 5 big red rubber noses.
Oh,
nice.
I like that.
Yeah,
nice.
Big red rubber noses.
4 out of 5?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
What's yours?
Oh. 2.
2 rubber noses.
2 2 out of 5 red rubber noses.
So you don't like it?
Yeah, like the more I thought, I settled on don't like it. Settled on that let down. How about that? Settled on that let down by it.
I don't know. 2 out of 5 seems pretty bad.
I mean, 3 out of 5. I did not think it was.
You just changed it.
No, I didn't just change it.
Okay.
I'm saying 3 out of 5. I feel like that's too high.
Well, 3 out of 5 is I liked it, but it's not great. I
think it's below that.
It's less than half.
I think
it's like a 40%.
I think it's less than I liked it, but I. What'd you just say?
That's like a 40%.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
Right there. I think it's pretty bad.
That's like a D.
That's like your entire review was it's fine. It was just kind of disappointing. Now you're just like, nah, it sucks.
One rubber nose is one red rubber nose is like I'm thinking. Why are we explaining my rating system?
Let's just
five
move
is
on.
a perfect 5 red
Fine,
rubber
I'll
noses.
close my book.
Okay.
I'm just gonna take that W.
All right. Well, we are going to end the show with something we haven't done in a while. We've got a Q&A segment. We hopped on over to our Facebook page at facebook.com/geekeasypodcast and put up a post to ask for listener questions. So if you're watching right now or listening right now and you're like, hey, I totally missed that. Well, next time, don't. Go like us on Facebook and stay up to date with everything that we're posting, including new episodes and call outs for questions. And since we haven't done this in like 3 episodes, we got a ton of questions today. So I figured we got some time. So let's just go through them. Let's answer all the questions we got here today. All right, we're going to kick things off with Rodney Langford. Shout out to Rodney because I recognize him as one of my patrons on Patreon. So thank you very much, Rodney.
Thank you, Rodney.
So Rodney says, while listening to back episodes of the Unspooled podcast, hold on, you cheating on us with a different podcast? What is this all about here?
No, that's okay.
I know, I'm kidding, bro. It's a joke.
I don't listen to any other podcast.
Jared doesn't listen to any other podcasts.
Yeah. All right. Of them. I feel so betrayed.
Actually, a few of them a lot of times.
Yeah.
So he says this is a podcast where the AFI's top 100 movies list gets viewed and critiqued through a 2018-2019 viewpoint. They rip almost every acclaimed movie apart. Acclaimed movie of the past in light of political correctness. Political correctness, I cannot talk today, and the Me Too movements. This sentiment, it seems, is already creeping into the MCU. What do you guys think political correctness will do to geek culture in general? My thoughts are that we'll never see another Captain Kirk, Han Solo, or any white straight male and uber masculine hero for a long time. So, interesting question. And do you guys, do you want to handle first? You want to go first? We're all adults here. We can have a good conversation on this, right? I think we should just throw that out there too. Nobody's gonna attack her.
Both just pick a side of the spectrum and
just battle it out. Just go for it.
Because that's what life is now, isn't it?
I know, right? The internet will make you believe you have to be one extreme or the other, and there's no middle ground. Yeah.
And even if you are one, if the other guy gets to it first, you have to argue him. So you have to. You have to hook it to whatever.
All right, who goes first?
So, well, the last part there is with the Rambo Last Blood releasing nationwide this week is the larger-than-life cinematic hero
Dead in America. And I wanted to put that part in there, too, because I can go ahead and start there with that. No, I don't think that's a real fear as far as being dead. There's still movies like that out there. We're getting all those, like the Has Fallen movies, like these Gerard Butler, Die Hard in a White House type things. Yep. Like, there's always going to be Die Hard movies that come out that are just Die Hard in a new thing. Yeah. That's been a thing for 30 years, and most of those have something along those lines. They may not be the only thing. Like, our only action heroes aren't Schwarzenegger and Stallone and Bruce Willis anymore. Yeah. We've got a lot of different options, but that doesn't mean...
The Rock and Vin Diesel.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we've got those, like, super masculine characters in the Fast and the Furious universe with every other type of hero you can think of.
Yep.
I think there's just a little bit more diversity in the action now, which I don't view as a bad thing by any means.
Let's see. As far as
We've been watching. I've been watching a lot of older movies, going down a list of similar to the AFI list myself, anyway. And it is one of the interesting things to watch some of this stuff and look at it and go, man, I wonder if some of that would fly today. But I haven't really noticed that nearly as much as I thought I would. Like the first time I came across one of those where I was like, oh, I don't even think you could do that in today's bed. I was like, man, I'm going to come across 50 of these. And I probably came across like 5. And more so, the things I've come across were, it's not so much like the characters and the way they're portrayed as it is like tone or subtext of a movie. Like I watched Fight Club again recently. I don't think that movie's about what I thought it was about 20 years ago. Yep. You know, like it plays totally different today.
Right.
And so I think the difference is, like, there's most of the classic movies I've come across, I think still play fine today. A lot of them I like as much now as I did the first time I saw them. And that's stuff from when I was younger to stuff from 30 years before I was born to whatever. But there definitely is a different viewpoint to look at some stuff for.
Yeah.
I think comedy is a big outlier in that. When you go and watch some like late 90s comedies, you know, there's stuff that I'm uncomfortable laughing at.
Yeah.
When looking at it through today's viewpoint. But comedy is always a product of its time.
It's a product of its time, and it's the quickest to it's the quickest to age and the most likely to age poorly.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think there's a level of hero that is just dead to the world now. I think there's just a lot more options now.
Right.
So, anybody else want to jump in with anything?
Well, I like that, and I would agree with that too. And sometimes when I look at this, like as a straight white male, sometimes I don't know like how, you know, like I don't want to be the guy that's out there like, oh well, I don't know how to answer this because I am the straight white male, and maybe my perspective doesn't, you know, it might be different than like Jaren's perspective on stuff like this, and I can respect that. But I feel the same way. Like, I think it's cool that there are more options out there. You know, it's not like we don't have women out in the world doing stuff like that and being heroes in real life. And it's not like we don't have homosexuals out there like existing and being heroes and doing real things. So I personally don't have an issue seeing more inclusive stuff in roles and stuff like that. That has not bothered me, at least not yet. We just talked about She-Ra a lot in the beginning of the show, and I know that that's a series that's had a lot of criticism for being a little heavy-handed with a lot of that kind of stuff. And to a point, I suppose I get that.
I don't want a She-Ra that's not girl power.
Well, that's what I mean. You know, She-Ra is supposed to be about girl power, but I think it's because, like, you know, they have added a little more of the open homosexuality in there a little bit. You know, Bo's got 2 dads.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Even though, like, when you look at the old show, it was... I mean, like, it's one of those things where, like, people look at the old She-Ra and the old He-Man, and it was a joke how gay it kind of was. Mm-hmm. And now you look at the new She-Ra, and it's part of the show, and that has become a criticism of it. And I don't know, it's a little strange to me in a sense when I look at it from that aspect, because, you know, we kind of laughed at the old She-Ra for being gay, but the new series is trying to handle it and be more inclusive with it, and it's getting criticized for that. But I know it's a tough stance sometimes too. People have different viewpoints on this, and I don't know. It's the political thing too, right?
Well, and part of the problem with the discussion as a whole is the internet culture and the way things are now is, I mean, as we just discussed going into this as a joke, but it's like you're either on one side of the spectrum or another. So it's hard to have, sometimes you have a critique that is legit, but if you say it out loud, then all of a sudden you're completely on the other side of the spectrum or whatever else. When he brings up like the MCU creeping into that, my assumption is that has something to do with like that scene in Endgame towards the end, where all of a sudden it's like that huge girl power scene.
Oh, and you kind of even
I was about to say, like, I'm a big proponent of getting more butt-kicking females in these movies because I've liked a bunch of them and stuff like that. But I had a problem with that scene. I felt that was very heavy-handed, and I don't mind. I like the diversity. I like the more options. I like a lot of the new stuff they're doing. I just want it to be good. That's my only complaint. And I don't like the idea that if you go, that movie with a girl hero is stupid, then it's like, oh, you hate women, do you? I'm like, no, I hate that movie, And with that scene, sometimes Hollywood's just bad at this stuff. And a lot of times I feel like through a couple of decades there, when they would try to do like a girl hero in something, it would come off very heavy-handed because they were more playing the idea of, oh, look, we got a girl now. You asked for a girl, we got a girl. Well, if your whole movie is we got a girl, that's not a very good movie.
Right.
Now they're making real movies that happen to have, girls in them as the lead.
Yeah.
But like with that Avengers scene, to me, that was a celebration of, look at this. Like it played out of scene to me. And I think we argued that at the time. I don't think it did to you guys, and that's fine. Different perspectives there. But I felt like that was just exactly what I was talking about. Like the sake of that scene wasn't like, oh, this is a cool scene and it happens to be all girls. It was very awkwardly put together that all of the girls. I thought that would have played great with like the first 5 that showed up, because it would have made sense for them to kind of be in that area. But then when it was like, every girl we've seen at any point during any of these movies just all happened to be right there waiting, and all of the guys are somewhere else doing anything. That's awkward in a giant battle like that. There's no way you're just going to randomly come across that unless you're forcing it into your story. And so that plays weird to me. I don't have a problem with someone going, I'm going to critique that issue there. But critiquing that issue doesn't make you a woman-hating crazy person. It's just... that's you going, I feel like I'm being preached to now. And I don't think anybody likes being preached to particularly. But other people are going to take that different ways, too, She didn't specifically say anything about it, but when I watched it with my daughter, I have a pretty good feeling that scene was great for her. So I'm not going to complain and petition and make it seem like it was the worst part of anything I've seen in cinema all year. I'm just going to sit back and go, it's a little heavy, Marvel. It's a little heavy. And then be done with it. No big deal.
Well, and maybe too, like, I know that we got the Jane Foster Thor movie coming up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like, that's stuff that draws directly out of the comics.
Yeah, exactly.
And the comic books themselves, or comics in general, have always been kind of about trying to push being a little more inclusive and about stuff. I mean, like, they're the comic that introduced Black Panther as a hero in a time where that was very, controversial to have a lead black character like that, to the point that, like, when the character first debuted, it wasn't until, like, towards the end of the comic when he took the helmet off and revealed that he was a black guy. You know what I mean? Like, they did that sort of thing with it. Yeah. But they stood behind it,
And comics have had tremendously strong female characters for decades.
Yes.
Well before movies
Wonder
really
Woman
got the hold of doing it, got the hang of doing it properly.
Right.
And so that's one of those things where, like you said, I feel like people will complain about, oh, you're breaking away from the source material, so I don't like it. And that same person will be like, oh, I guess it's terrible to be a straight white male now. You got to throw all these women at us. Well, that's the source material. Do you want it one way or the other?
Mm-hmm. All right, Jaron, you're up.
I find it very hard to like almost to the point like I get offended at the people that complain about woke culture and political correctness and the Me Too movement. Like, this is good stuff, guys. Mm-hmm. Are you really, and I have a hard time hearing it as anything but, that selfish privilege, that privilege mindset of like, this world is mine and now you guys are trying to take it away from me, and it's like diversity is a good thing. You know what I mean? Like the point is not to stop having straight white male characters. The point is to stop having only straight white male characters.
I agree with that. Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? And I get that it feels like we're in an era where there's a bit of an overcorrection, but it feels that way because we've been at such a gulf for so long.
Yeah.
And then it's been a certain way for so long and we're trying to change it really fast.
Yeah.
Because it's something that needs to change. It's not something it's not something that's going to change overnight,
Right.
but it's also not something we can just go, over the next 15,000 years, I'm sure we'll ease into being a diverse society.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, no, it
yeah.
needs to change now, and we need to speak up when it's not changing, and we need to work actively towards changing it. And you know what? When it's changed and everybody's on an even playing field, you know, as even as it can get, you know what I mean? Then, you know what? Nobody's, you know, there will be straight white masculine men, and there will be, you know, like, not that they're ever, I don't think they're ever going to go away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, that's been the status quo, you know, and it'll continue to be the status quo. And we need to change that. There needs to be diversity, and there needs to be a world where everyone recognize, you know, like where everyone is represented, you know, everyone can look and say, look, there's my hero.
Yeah.
There's my, you know what I mean? Growing up not white, I can't remember, you know, like the first time I remember knowing, and I couldn't tell you I couldn't tell you how I found out, but I found out.
You're black?
I found out that Slash was mixed race of Guns N' Roses. The guitar of Guns N' Roses, Slash, was mixed race, and like, you know, that mattered to me. You know what I mean? I was like, well, that's awesome. And then I didn't get another one of those. You know, Mr. T. You know, but I can't really think of any.
Mr. T, mixed race?
He's black.
Yeah.
I'm trying mixed race or colored, or you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to remember, you know, he was I didn't really watch the A-Team, but he was the bad guy in Rocky. You know, he stands out to me as like, you know, a character that I remember. You know, like you had to really like seek out, you know, it wasn't just out there, you know what I mean? Like I had to seek out and find these role models that were like me, you know what I mean? Where, you know, so like that needs to change. It should be easy, you know what I mean? Like,
and let's bring it back to Black Panther, because we talked about that a lot when that movie came out. How culturally significant that movie was, in the sense that, you know, it became like one of the largest grossing superhero movies, largest grossing Marvel movies, you know, and it all those toys were out there for all those kids, you know, and, you know, the role play items and everything, because like it was a strong black superhero that was the main character that this movie was focused around, more than, you know, like a whole. It wasn't just Black Panther himself, but, you know, like, I just thought that was so cool seeing the, you know, have black kids have that type of hero to look up to, and those toys to play with, and the role play items, and just all that stuff. That was awesome. That was a cultural significance that we hadn't seen a whole lot of before that.
Yep. Well, that would be my other thing too, is to ask, you know, when somebody brings that kind of thing up, you know, like, what is it you're looking for?
Yeah.
You know, and what do you really look? Does it have to be a straight white uber masculine male that you're looking for? Because you know who's super masculine? Black Panther.
Yeah.
You know who's going to get several more movies made for him? Black Panther. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you need a white guy? You know who's a white guy? Chris Pratt. Pretty sure he's going to keep making movies, and he's probably going to be straight and as masculine as they let Chris Pratt be for most of those movies. You know what I mean? Like, you know, what is it you're looking for, and what are you really worried about that someday, you know, it's there's not going to be. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, they're still putting Thor in those movies.
Yeah,
you know, he's as straight white masculine as you could hope for on that level. But I also think, and I think this question is a hard question to ask, and I think it was worded fairly well as far as getting it out there. Because again, as soon as you broach the subject, all of a sudden you're the bad guy because you hate diversity. Well, I don't think that's the question. I think the question is, you know, how does some of this stuff get affected? And I think when people are talking about woke culture or whatever, if they're especially if they're putting negative connotations towards it, I feel like it's less. I don't think if you sat anybody down, well, some people, I'm sure, but for the majority, if you find somebody who is just making a backhanded comment about woke culture, I think if you sat them down and got into their inner thoughts, most of them probably don't hate everyone who doesn't look like them. But most of them probably also don't like being preached to. And there's a different conversation between society as a whole and what Hollywood does. So we're not necessarily getting into the one side. But I think as far as diversity in Hollywood, one of the problems we ran into for generations or decades or however long it's been on getting stuff like that out there is the fact that Hollywood is terrible at this stuff. It's the same with, we complain about how terrible they are at, everybody's tried to copy the Marvel formula, but they're all terrible at it. There's the Hollywood studio mentality that everybody tries to make movies in a certain way, and that's changed a lot over the last couple of decades, but it's taken a long time for some of those changes to take effect because Hollywood is terrible at this stuff. Another thing they've been terrible at for a long time is diversity, because when there'd be a call for, well, we need more black heroes, or we need more female heroes, or whatever, they would give us these garbage movies, these Catwomans, the Halle Berry one, these, whatever else that would come out, and everyone would react negatively to them because they were terrible movies. But the reaction would come off as, oh, look, they're trying to shove women down my throat now. Well, that's all they were doing. They weren't trying to make a good movie. They were trying to go, look, we got a movie with a woman in it now. Isn't this great? Mm-hmm. Not unless the movie's good. Now, Blade came out and was a black superhero essentially and was very positively received because Blade was awesome. These movies that are coming out now, your Wonder Womans, your, even some of like the fringer ones, they did that Atomic Blonde movie with Charlize Theron basically playing John Wick, which, to my knowledge, was fairly well received because it's a pretty fun little action movie that is a John Wick movie that people like, but happens to have a girl in it. I think the Fast and the Furious franchise really broke that open because those weren't touted when they started doing them as, look at all these different colors that are in this movie. It was touted as, look at this crazy car movie with all this weird, fun action going on, and people went and saw it for that. And everyone of every color and every race and every creed and every gender loves those movies all over the world, partially because of that diversity, but it wasn't like we're just going to make a movie with someone from everywhere and hope that it works. It was, we're going to make an awesome movie and everybody's in it. And you don't hear backlash about those movies. Nobody looks at those movies and go, oh, I guess the Fast and Furious is woke now because they're enjoying themselves. They only bring that stuff up, and again, not always, not only, I'm putting too broad of a definition on it, but a lot of the factor comes in when stuff like that gets brought up when someone feels like they're being preached to. And if you're just making a movie to say, look at me, I can make a movie with diversity in it, and then you vomit onto a page and then film it, no one's impressed by that.
I disagree wholeheartedly, 100%. You talk about how they, for years we've been making bad movies with, women and minorities in it. They're not hated because they're minorities. They're hated because they're bad. They also start with handicaps because they are not going to be as well funded because they are starring women and minorities. They are not going to be as well funded if they are if they're directed by women and minorities because that has not been
that doesn't go against my point. That is my point. That's Hollywood being terrible at it.
Well, Hollywood being okay. Yeah, yes, but like that's where like the overcorrection comes in. You know what I mean? Like we have to overcorrect to get to where you can make those good movies. When you talk about, people just like, people not wanting to be preached to, all the replies, all the people I see who jump in first to be like, oh, I guess this is woke now. I guess this is that now. It's not after they've gone and seen a movie and felt preached to. It's after somebody has announced, hey, we're making She-Hulk. Oh, I guess the Hulk's got to be a chick now. Oh, I guess the Hulk's woke now. The Hulk's woke?
Yeah.
I guess the Hulk's woke now. Like the movement of, the woke movement is not a preaching movement. It's everybody who doesn't want to hear anybody say anything. You know what I mean? Like you never hear somebody come out and go, "Hey, I'm a social justice warrior. Hey, I'm woke. Hey, I'm this." You only hear people going, this social justice warrior over here trying to make me woke. You know what I mean?
But that's why I also specified, like, not everybody, clearly. There are people out there who are just bad people, and there are people out there who are just angry and want to be angry, and whatever else. That's fine. But I want to go by, you can go by the number strictly. So do people complain when any movie comes out where people look different than they? Some people do, yeah, sure. But when then the movie actually comes out, they've got no backing whatsoever. They've got no issue to hold on. You can't make an argument about, oh, look, every time they try to do this, it sucks. Because now some of them are awesome. And society as a whole, the loud minority on the internet, on both sides of that argument, are going to be the annoying ones that are driving at each other. But the middle of that road is people who just pay money to go to movies and enjoy themselves. And those people have no problems going to see, Wonder Woman because it's great when they didn't want to see Tank Girl because it kind of blew. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. The voices are always going to be there, and they're as annoying on one side as they are on the other. But the actual, the people, society as a whole embraces a lot of this stuff now, and you can see it by box office. You can see it by how much money Black Panther made. Obviously, there were people complaining about how, now I guess every superhero's got to be black, or the one, whatever. And there were people complaining about how, whatever the complaint on the other side would be.
Captain Marvel got a lot of criticism, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's always going to be those loud voices of the people who, as I said, are just angry and or terrible. But movies themselves have grown into being able to do this and do it properly. And, I'm not talking about the guy who's sitting at home all day just smashing his keys as hard as he can because he's mad at the world. I'm talking about the guy at the water cooler who is like having a conversation with you about, I don't know why they need to change things. Things seem fine, but then something different comes out that's great, and that guy loves it. Know.
But I think the dangerous thing is, and the reason, like that guy at the water cooler, it's almost more important to point out to him, not just go, oh, well, that's Larry, you know what I mean, and walk away. Like, it's almost more important to point out to Larry that, look, hey, there's a lot of cool stuff, and do you really want less diversity? Because then it is, because the guy who's tapping on the internet, we're probably not going to change. He's looking for a fight, and we're probably not going to change his mind. Exactly. But there's a lot of those guys at the water cooler saying that stuff, and that's what we got to get rid of, man. Yeah. Like, that's where you got, and it's well, hold on, because it's fine, because Ed is probably not a racist, and Ed is probably not really scared of diversity, and Ed is probably going to go see Black Panther and Wonder Woman, and maybe he'll like them both, but he's still going to be at the water cooler going, this woke stuff, I'm tired of this diversity. And it's got to be pointed out to Ed, like, Ed, do you realize how big of a jerk you sound like?
Yeah.
And then Ed will change his thought, and then when enough Eds start to realize, oh, I sound like a real jerk, and I offended Jerome in the cubicle next to me. I didn't mean that. I like Jerome. I was just then we get real change, and then we'll actually be in a woke society.
Yeah. But I think that's happening. And again, we're kind of having two conversations here because we're really bleeding a Hollywood question into real life stuff, and I know one reflects another, and we feel like one really leads another. I don't think it's fair to compare them as the same thing by any means. We're talking
it's all part of the same. See, to me, it's all part of the same thing. And to me, like, do I think it's happening? Yes. Do I think it's happening fast enough? No. Can it happen fast enough? No. I don't have a metric for what's fast enough.
Yeah.
I do think it's a dangerous mindset to think that it's happening fast enough, because then we don't have to worry about that. It's happening, right? It'll be fine. It'll be fine. No, it was. We thought it would be fine for 2,000 years. Now we got to change it, and we got to keep changing it. and it's not going to be fine until it's changed.
I don't think there's as you just said, there's no metric for what. Not only is there not a metric for what's fast enough, there's not a metric for when it's changed.
True.
And the other thing we can't do is always be angry about it all the time, no matter where it is. So,
I might. Not be angry about it all the time, but be aware of it all the time.
Yeah. It's kind of heavy. What I want to know is what happened to Larry.
Larry?
Yeah. Well, Larry was at the water cooler complaining about everything, and then Ed showed up. And Larry was just gone.
Larry was the instigator, man. Larry's the guy causing the
Larry started it and walked away.
Yeah, Larry started the problems.
Larry said something and then went home and started smashing buttons on his keyboard.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I know it was I knew it was a heavy question when we got into it, and I knew we were going to get some heavy answers out of it. But Rodney, thanks for at least bringing it up. Hopefully, hopefully nobody out there feels like this was like an attack or anything like that, because this needed to be like an actual conversation. Like this, all of this always needs to be a discussion that people are always having all the time, right? Like it needs to be an ongoing thing. So
how many Larrys are going to respond?
Well, if they do, they do. It's fine.
Also, if your name's Larry and you're all for diversity, sorry.
Yeah. All right, we got a couple more questions here. A lot more brief, so we can get through these here. Let's go and move on to a question from Ryan Reynolds. I don't think it's that Ryan Reynolds, but
I'm
Ryan.
Sure it is.
Oh, it is that one.
Probably
okay,
is.
That Ryan Reynolds. Okay, so he says on the Freak Easy podcast, which, by the way, guys, if you haven't heard, that's our new spin-off show all about horror movies, which is happening every Friday until Halloween.
Every Friday. Yes.
Yes. Every Friday. So he says, on the Freak Easy podcast, in which you erroneously called Friday the 13th Part 5 terrible.
I don't think he knows what erroneous means.
You guys, we got a little bit of heat for that from more than just one person. Yep. So, you guys,
I stand by it though. I did not. If you like it, that's fine. I still think it's one of the worst, if not the worst. Anyway,
so you guys touched very briefly on the Friday the 13th video game, and it got me thinking. Since it's an online game, would you guys ever consider doing a Geek Easy Friday the 13th game night? I think he means all of us again on live stream it.
Yeah. Well, the quick answer is yes. I started considering it as soon as I saw the question.
Yeah.
So now it's just a matter of actually planning one.
Yeah. We'll have to get it figured. I've still not even played that game, and we've talked about it. And
I haven't either, and if we're going to decide to do this, I'm not going to until that night.
Until then?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe we'll see if we can put something like that together. That could be fun. Next question comes from Ben Cox, who says, what are each of your memories of Mask? Like the cartoon and toy line Mask. And do each of you feel it has the potential to be made into a movie franchise?
Let me go first because mine will be short.
Yep.
I remember watching the cartoon. I remember that I watched the cartoon. I don't remember the cartoon at all. I remember really wanting the toys and either never being able to find them or never being able to afford them.
Yeah.
But always really wanting them. And I remember trying to pretend really, really hard that my Chase and the Wheeled Warriors
were Mask toys.
Were Mask toys.
I've brought Mask up a couple of times when we get questions about stuff I liked when I was a kid that because it's always one that pops into my mind as something that hasn't been redone yet. But I enjoyed when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't have many of the toys. I wanted a ton of them. I think I had 3 of them, and I think they were hard to find too. And the problem with them was that they were pretty much all vehicles. Right. So it always seemed less attainable than just buying a G.I. Joe.
Right.
You buy a whole set,
Right.
But as far as would it make a potential to be made into a movie? No, I'm looking at the wrong question. No, that is
that's
one.
it. That's the question.
Anything has the potential to be made into a movie franchise. I mean, if you write it well, any story can be good.
Yeah.
So will they make a good Mask? Could they? Absolutely. Will they? I don't know, man. They started talking about doing that whole Transformers universe,
the Hasbro shared universe.
G.I. Joe and Mask and all that was part of it, and that has gone nowhere since.
That's the problem.
If they're going to shove it into that universe, then no, it probably won't be that great. And I'm not even a guy who absolutely hates every Transformers movie, but I I don't think Mask is going to survive under that plan.
How weird would that universe be when they try? Would that Avengers be, man?
Wow.
Like, because those are like,
It was a weird mix too.
Like the Avengers. Well, the Avengers fit together.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, they were put together. They each got their own movies, and then they were in a thing. These are like whole contained worlds. So, like, you're gonna have these whole like G.I. Joe. There's 700 G.I. Joes.
Yeah,
you know, like Transformers.
Well,
there's 200 Transformer robots. Like, who's gonna be in that movie? Like Mask. He's gonna.
And also, the second the guy driving by on his motorcycle like drives off a cliff, and his motorcycle turns into a helicopter, and he flies away, aren't the G.I. Joe guys all going to be going, why don't we have those?
Yeah, really.
You know.
So G.I. Joe and Transformer has crossed over quite a bit in comics, actually.
I think they've done some cartoons too.
I'm not sure, but definitely comics. And they even introduced a couple Mask. Like, Mask has been introduced into G.I. Joe. Once specifically, I know, like, Matt Tracker was made into a G.I. Joe action figure, and he's like the main guy from Mask. Yeah. So Hasbro's dabbled in that here and there over the years, and then they were going to do that shared universe thing that never panned out. They were going to include all kinds of crazy things in that, like Rom the Space Knight was supposed to be part of that, and Micronauts was supposed to be part of that. Like, all kinds of crazy stuff, because they just own all those properties.
Got Silverhawks, Silverhawks in there.
Does Hasbro maybe not know like what a cinematic universe is?
No,
I mean,
did they just think Marvel does?
No, yeah, they're the only ones.
I mean, I think
they're the only ones.
I mean, I think other people have an idea what it is.
No,
I think. Well, I mean, they don't know how to do it, obviously. But it seems to me like Hasbro was just like, we have all these properties. We have a cinematic universe, guys.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, what's that? And they're like, it's that thing Marvel does. Yeah. And they're like, oh.
It's all that money Marvel's making.
Yeah.
We can do that,
it's where
too.
you put two things together and then swim in money.
Yeah, that's totally how everybody else looks at it. All right, next question comes from Ricky Lyle Campbell. What's up, Ricky? He says, as Dan knows, my favorite characters are almost always female characters, so my questions are related to that. Are there any franchises in which your number one favorite character is a female? And in general, who are some of your all-time favorite female characters? And he says, like, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Masters, anything like that. So, any stand out to you guys specifically?
Nothing. Like, I can't think of a franchise off the top of my head that my favorite character would be a female necessarily. Now, I can say probably my favorite franchise of all time is the Buffyverse.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Oh, heck yeah, Buffy.
Yeah. For sure.
That's a perfect answer.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I don't know that Buffy's my favorite character in that show. I'd probably edge that at least to Spike.
I was going to say I love Spike.
Yeah.
But Buffy's amazing.
But, I mean, that whole universe is very female-centered on a lot of levels.
Yeah.
Love it.
I've always sort of leaned towards the female characters myself.
Yeah.
Not something I talk about. Not something I get a chance to talk about a lot. You know,
the Geekies is an open.
Well, this is the first time. You know,
yeah.
You can bring up whatever you want.
I don't think it's not something I think I need to bring up. You know, I talk about what we talk about. But I like what comes to mind for me. Chitara was always my favorite. Thundercat.
Wow.
You know, I was always Lady J was always my favorite G.I. Joe.
Oh wow, cool.
She had like the spears and stuff. I just thought that was awesome. Yeah. Right? Didn't she have the spears?
The crossbow thing.
I can't remember. So I didn't watch a ton of G.I. Joe, so I'm not the right person to ask that question to.
All right. I'm pretty sure Lady J.
Scarlet used the crossbow.
Scarlet used the crossbow. Yeah, Scarlet used the crossbow. Lady J had like the spear. She'd wear the thing and she'd pull out the spears, and the spears would do all kinds of weird.
Isn't she the one that wore like the bomber jacket and the hat?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's Lady J. Yeah.
I'm
really showing my lack of knowledge of G.I. Joe. That's one of my weak points for sure.
You got to do something about that, man.
That and Transformers. People yell at me about those all the time.
We just got to go watch.
I don't know a lot about either of those.
What, Rise of Cobra? That's all you need to know.
Oh, right? That's it? That's what I need to know about G.I. Joe?
Well, that's another one. Well, that one had, Jinx in it? I love Jinx, man.
Jinx. Yeah, she was in that.
Man, I had the Jinx.
The ninja one, right?
Jinx was awesome.
Yeah.
I had the Jinx action figure. Mm-hmm. And I was always super mad because, like, in the movie Jinx's gimmick in the show, like, her gimmick was she couldn't fight. You know, she was unlucky. She ruined everything until you blindfolded her, and then she was an unstoppable ninja.
Yeah.
The Jinx toy came with like her hood on, but you couldn't take it off or blindfold her. Like, I was always so like, why she should have come with like a head that was blindfolded, so she could win a fight ever.
Yeah, so she,
you know,
this toy could never win.
Right, you know. But yeah, those are a couple. I also would throw a shout out to Alias. I really liked the Alias.
Oh yeah,
that was a good show. That was a good show.
Yeah.
I never watched the show, but I really like Jennifer Garner.
Yeah.
So
there's no Buffy.
Yeah.
There's no Buffy.
I was gonna say, I do love
Good
Buffy.
show.
That's such a great answer. I don't know why I didn't even think about that. I mean, obviously, I grew up as a Motu fan, so She-Ra's high on my list for sure. Teela, I love Teela.
Yeah.
I've always loved Teela. She's one of my favorite characters, so I'm all about Teela. Evelyn's a great villain. My favorite thing about Evelyn is how she's like secondhand to Skeletor, but is always trying to plot to overthrow Skeletor at the same time. I think that's such a great dynamic for the character. So yeah, Evelyn's a great one too.
Yeah.
She's a great character. So yeah, all about it, man. That's awesome. All right. Jamie Mayers says, Jaime. He actually says his name's pronounced Jaime. So Jaime Mayers, or hopefully I did the last name right. Are you guys going to be watching AEW on Wednesday nights? And do you think there'll be any major changes on Friday nights for SmackDown when it moves to Fox? I want to give it a try. Absolutely. I think we've all kind of talked about recently how we've all been in sort of like a wrestling funk where we're not keeping up with it as good as we typically do, but I go through those swings every now and then. Yeah. And I do still read the news every day or watch YouTube videos about what's going on in the world of wrestling. Yeah, I'm absolutely interested to give AEW's new show a shot. I want to see what it's all about. Mm-hmm. I've been curious about it as they've been building it up.
That's why I'm hesitant to. My intent has always been to watch that when it is a weekly show and to watch SmackDown as soon as it goes to Fox. More than anything, just because I really want to see what Fox SmackDown looks like.
Yeah.
Like between the WWE and the Fox network itself, I'm not sure how that marriage works. It's not that I think it can't work by any means. Right. I think it could work fine. I just don't know what it looks like, and stuff like that makes me curious. Now, I've been intending to watch all of AEW's pay-per-views and to start rewatching at least SmackDown, if not both, leading up to them making the switch, and I haven't done any of that. So it's hard to be like, yeah, I can't wait because I want to, but we'll see.
You haven't missed anything. Just jump in. You don't need to go rewatch it. I know that's your thing, but you don't need to go rewatch it.
Oh, I wasn't going to go rewatch anything.
I thought you said...
No, I meant to jump in like a month ago.
All right, gotcha. I thought you were saying you wanted to go back and...
No, I wanted to watch AEW pay-per-views as they happened, and I didn't. And I wanted to watch SmackDown starting at least a month ago, and I haven't. Yeah. So we'll see.
I'm only interested... I think we're going to see... Okay, well, I don't... I always said I was going to watch AEW when it was free, and I wouldn't watch it until then because I was so unimpressed with the show that I saw. I still kind of feel that way. I don't have a ton of interest in AEW. What I have interest in now is because they're going to be running against NXT. NXT got bumped over to USA
on Wednesdays.
For 2 hours on Wednesdays.
Yep, it's a prime time show now.
Now, let me say, I don't think that we're going to see the Wednesday Night Wars, you know what I mean, and Revolution and a New Attitude Era, streaming out of Wednesday night. I think we're going to see both those shows bolster each other's numbers. I think we're going to see. So I'm interested to watch, and I'm interested to see how they compete. Mm-hmm. What that looks like. You've got NXT. You've got a lot of young, hungry guys, and AEW. You've got a lot of young, hungry guys, and they work. It's a similar worked atmosphere, similar show. Yeah. Which I think is which ultimately I'm interested to see who changes, because I think it'll work against them if they're both. What made the Monday Night Wars great was that WCW was so different from WWF. Mm-hmm. these shows are very, these rosters are very similar right now, at least in the style that they work and the things that they're out there doing. AEW is like it's as close to a fan-run company as you can get.
Yeah. And
NXT has a little bit of that because they're so used to performing in front of the same crowds, in front of, they run so much in the Full Sail. They had that same crowd. It became like a very kind of closed loop.
Yeah.
It's gotten a little, and it's kept that even though they've moved out. You know what I mean? Like it's built habits for the company, for the show, even as they've moved out and expanded some. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. I think they'll bolster each other's ratings, at least for a little while. That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
For sure. Cool. All right. The next question comes from Jeremy Michael, who says, for those of you that are cable cutters, what services or apps do you use for your entertainment? Go first, John.
Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus as soon as it's available.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, people are already starting to joke about, well, I signed up for these 15 things instead of cable, and now I'm paying the same amount.
Yeah.
I can easily fall into that trap if I let myself, so I'm not sure exactly how many things I'm willing to add as a whole. I know I'm not willing to add CBS All Access.
Yeah, we know.
I think that's been brought up a time or two. But, right now, there is just so much content out there everywhere. I like Hulu because it keeps me attached to all those network shows, that it's just easier to watch them on there because they're on demand and in high def, and I don't have to worry about whether my antenna's getting signal or anything like that. But that seems like the easiest one to cut also, if I decided I need to get to that point. The other thing is, I really feel like if I ever take the time to sit down and plan it out, I don't catch up with the stuff I want to keep up with anyway, so I don't have to pay for 3 or 4 of these services. But the beauty of this model is it's really not that hard to go in and cancel one. And it would be really easy to be like, all right, I'm not watching Glow or Mindhunter or whatever this month, but there is a new season of such and such on ABC and whatever else, so I can cut Netflix for a month, keep Hulu and whatever else. And so I've eyed that as a cost-cutting measure if it ever comes right down to it. Just more of streamlining what I watch into, okay, this month I'm going to have HBO, so I'm going to catch up on such and such. And then next month I'm going to cut it and then decide what I feel like watching then.
Right.
But as for right now, there's just so many options. I mean, Netflix is the obvious one. Hulu gets you a lot of the network stuff if you want that. And Amazon Prime is one of it's like an add-on anyway.
Right.
Like, I like having my 2-day shipping, and also I get all these movies. So cool,
Yeah. I have the same. That's the same with me. Like, I have Amazon Prime, but I didn't even get it for the streaming thing at first. It's just kind of part of it, and I barely ever turn on Amazon Prime streaming. But I have Hulu, I have Netflix, I have WWE Network, and I have YouTube, and I watch everything through those there. That's
you have
what
the live TV YouTube thing?
I don't. I just have regular YouTube. But
like you subscribe to it?
Yeah, you can subscribe to that. I do.
What do you get extra for that? What do you get extra for that?
So they keep adding channels to it. So there's a group of channels that you get through that, so that you can watch live TV through YouTube. I haven't looked into it too much. I don't know if I need that. I do
say, what do you get for your subscription?
So I do pay for YouTube Premium, which is $9.99 a month, and the benefits you get for having that is you have the ability to download videos to watch them offline, which I use a lot when I'm traveling. You have the ability to, if you're watching on your phone, you can minimize the app and the video will keep playing, which comes in handy. You can't do that without the premium service. But the other really good thing, it gets rid of ads. So there's no ads on any video,
that's cool.
which is super cool. Yeah. But it also gives you full access to Google Play Music's library by doing that. I can listen to anything I want to through Google Play because I pay for YouTube Premium. Okay. Because they've also got the YouTube Music app, which is essentially the same thing, but that's all bundled in there with it. Yeah. So for me, it's worth it because I got I like all those extra things. So I pay for YouTube every month.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, the same. Netflix. I have WWE Network, Netflix, Hulu. I just signed up the YouTube Premium.
Did you?
They got me. They got me. Because they gave me a 3-month trial. Because every time you open YouTube, it offers you a 1-month trial for the premium. Every single time. One time they caught me because it popped up and it said 3-month trial, and I was like, oh, 3 months in. But then it was just for the music app.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, okay. But then I started using the music app all the time, and it would play in the background, and you get any music you want. And I was like, and then I noticed that, because I started thinking I might keep the music app. And then I noticed that the music app is $12.99, and YouTube Premium, which includes the music app, is I think it's $10.99 now or something.
Yeah.
I think it's a little, but I was like,
that's silly.
Oh man, they got me.
They got you.
They got me.
I like it though.
You win, YouTube. Oh,
that's how I listen to all my music
amazing.
In the car. That's
I watch.
It's perfect.
Road trips or listen to music in the car now. Anything I want. Any music I want. A big one for me is the background play now, because I watch a lot of videos that are mainly audio.
Yeah.
That I don't need to see.
Yes.
And
that's what I like about the background play is fantastic.
Yep. So
because you can turn your screen off on your phone and stick your phone in the pocket, and the video will keep playing.
Oh, okay, even when you turn it off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's perfect for podcasts and stuff that are through YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I like about it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
so, and I just want to add. I'm not one who does it to save. I don't cut cable to save. I will gladly pay the same amount or more to have all the apps that I want, so that I can binge watch, see whatever I want, have that control. And also, I hate Comcast.
Yeah.
I would rather give that money to anybody else other than Comcast. Now, I think Comcast is one of those secret societies that secretly owns everything, so they're probably getting most of my money anyway, but as long as I don't pay it to Comcast, as long as the bill doesn't say Comcast, I feel better about who I'm signing my money to.
That's why I don't ask what the ingredients are when I order something from a restaurant.
Right.
All right, the next question comes from Mazen Malachi, who says, "Hey guys, do you see another version of She-Ra and the Princess of Power being part of the upcoming Masters of the Universe series, or do you think Mattel would only want to keep the one version of She-Ra?" It's an interesting question, and we talked about that just a little bit earlier with the She-Ra stuff. I think there is something split with the rights there. But also, I do think they're going to want to keep those two shows separate.
Right.
We might get references to She-Ra existing in the new show the same way we're getting references to Eternia existing in the She-Ra show.
Well, they're not asking if the shows will combine. They're asking if you think the new Masters of the Universe is going to
have its own
She-Ra.
Oh, no, okay. Yes, I get that. And I still think no.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to bring She-Ra into that, because I think they want to keep She-Ra over there with her own show. I'm not saying merging those two shows together. I'm saying the characters.
Okay.
I think they want to keep the characters separate completely. I'm knocking over your cup over here. I think it's one of those things where they're I don't know, you don't see that a lot, where they have two concurrent shows going and have the same characters in both shows when they're separate series. I think it's going to be one of those kind of circumstances. Yeah. They're going to let She-Ra stand on her own with her current show, and this one's going to be fully focused on He-Man and his characters, I think. Yeah. Now, I'm not opposed to seeing She-Ra at all. I would love that. I just geeked out about all the references in Princesses of Power to the He-Man world, so if they do the same thing in this, that'd be awesome. Even if I get little references to Etheria existing and She-Ra existing, I'm on board for that, for sure. I would love that.
I hope if they do have their own She-Ra, she's just really into chili dogs.
Like Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Because there were two of those shows running concurrently. That was
Got it. Okay. Nice. All right. Because there were two Sonics.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Thanks.
I was going to say the only, I think you're right, but I will say, when people tried to make a big deal when the Justice League was coming out, because they were like, oh, there's going to be a Flash in the movies and a Flash on TV. That's going to confuse people.
Yeah.
And it didn't, and it wouldn't, and that's the right answer.
I agree with that.
But also, not only do I think you're probably right, and not only do to the rights play into the issue, it is also a little bit different if they were trying to market two different She-Ras on the same. It's not like the CW had a Flash show and then a Justice League show with a different Flash. These were totally different mediums, Yeah. So there is a difference there, but there is some precedence also for the concurrence. So you never know, but I think you're right. I think they won't.
Right. And I think, because I don't think I don't know if DreamWorks is involved in, I don't think they are involved in Masters of the Universe Revelations, and I think DreamWorks owns She-Ra, too. You know what I mean? So I think, I don't know, I don't know, the rights are weird with those characters, but...
Rights are always weird.
Rights are weird. All right, and then Anthony Hernandez says, what Marvel characters do you guys think would make for a good show on Disney+? Look, they're already giving me Moon Knight, so I don't even know what else to say at this point. I'm getting Moon Knight.
Yeah, and that's like I don't like most of the Marvel characters that top my list already have movies and or shows coming out. But again, I'll give kind of the same answer I gave about Mask earlier. Any of them, if they're written well, I mean, there's 1,000 Marvel characters that are out there, and if you can tell a good story about any of them, it can be a good TV show. So. Nothing springs to mind that isn't already being done, but I'll be excited to see anything they decide to do until they start disappointing me, which they haven't yet.
Yeah, you got any?
Well, the one that I have, the one that I have is one that can't happen. Because
Spider-Man.
Well, kind of, because I collected Silver Sable comics for a long time.
Oh,
I really liked the Silver Sable comics.
She's totally part of the Sony
Speaking
deal.
of women that women franchises.
Yeah.
But and she's part of the Sony deal, so that
She's
can't
already
happen.
supposed to have a movie in the works.
I think that got one canceled.
Did they? Okay.
Well, I remember hearing there was like a Silver Sable Black Cat movie.
Yeah.
Which is a real weird combo.
Yeah, and I think I remember hearing that was canceled. Okay. Because it was announced during the same slate as it was like Venom. It was announced when they were like,
a long time
yeah,
ago.
it was announced when they were still going to do like the Sinister Six movie,
but it held on through a lot of that because it was still active as far as when Venom, if not when Venom came out, then at least during production.
I mean, they're still doing that Morbius movie. That Morbius movie's still coming, right?
Well, maybe it'll come out. I feel like I remember hearing it was killed.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's very possible.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it wasn't like that. Like it was around for a long time as far as production goes.
Hey, she had a pretty good role in the video game.
Yeah,
that was just
which
out
I sort
on
of
PS4.
thought might have
Silver
something to do
Sable's
with
in
the
there.
fact that they were
Black Cat too, and they were intertwined in the same storyline.
Yeah, exactly.
Silver Sable and Black Cat were.
There you go, teaser.
Yeah, see, it was a teaser for the movies. Cool. All right, I think that's going to put a cap on our questions for this episode. So, hey, guys, if you ever want to ask questions, like I said, head on over to the Facebook page and hit that like button. Just do a search for the Geek Easy Podcast. I usually try to put up a thread before we record, but hey, if you don't see one, go ahead and post something there. There's no shame in just putting up a post and asking your questions, and we can do our best to try to collect them before we record each time. And I think that is going to bring us to the end of this week's show, guys.
Can you keep the questions to just easy geek softballs from now on?
Just lob them in there.
Yeah.
Lob them in
But
there.
we don't want this to become a political show.
Yep.
And we don't want to
until 2020
we don't want to spend 20 minutes
when we do the vote easy.
Oh no,
our new political spin.
I'm out. I am not. That's just going to be you, John.
Nope. Not touching that one.
I'm out. Cool. All right, guys. Well, hey, there are lots of different ways you can download and enjoy the show. If you are an audio podcast person, you can catch us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify. I think I got all of those, but pretty much any of your podcasting platform choices should have us out there. If you prefer video versions, we are also streaming on YouTube. Just do a search for the Geek Easy Podcast and hit that subscribe button. And however you decide to enjoy the show, rate us, review us, subscribe to us, follow us, whatever you want to do, and help us spread the word on the show. Any final thoughts, gentlemen? Anything else? Nope.
Thanks for listening.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much. Until next time.
The Geek Easy Podcast is a production of PixelDan.com. Musical tracks used in the intro and outro are used with full permission of the respective owners or creators. Intro and outro narrations are provided by me, Brian T. Stevenson. PixelDan.com's The Geek Easy Podcast is provided for entertainment purposes only. The views expressed are those solely of the hosts or guests and do not necessarily represent those of pixeldan.com or any other party. Be sure to join us next time for another installment of the Geek Easy Podcast.